Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ludlow College Virtual Open event. In this session, we're going to be talking about A-level computer science, law, psychology and sociology. So we've got a few videos to show you, just where the tutors will explain a little bit about each course. And then following that, the tutors are available to answer any questions you may have in a question and answer format. So if you sit back and enjoy the videos, and we'll answer your questions shortly.
Hello, my name is Carl Morris and I'm head of Ludlow College. I would like to welcome you to our virtual open event. I thought I would start by explaining why you should consider coming to Ludlow College for your post-16 education. We have an excellent track record for academic performance for A-levels and vocational courses. Presently, we are ranked very highly on the national achievement tables. Virtually all of our students achieve their courses, with, on average, 99.3% of our A-level students passing their course over the past 5 years. 100% of our vocational students have passed their course over the last 3 years, with all our students gaining a positive career outcome, whether that is going to university, a job or an apprenticeship. Our timetable is very different to other colleges. The average student comes into college for 3.5 days per week, therefore giving students freedom for part-time jobs, work experience and limiting their travel to college time. We have excellent facilities with new science labs, a fitness suite, art and health and social care rooms, specialist rooms for media and dark rooms for photography, to name a few. Our curriculum is very broad with 27 different A-levels, 4 level 3 vocational courses in sport, health and social care, early years and business, 2 level 2 vocational courses in health and social care and early years combined and business. If you're interested in a career in football, please have a look into our football education programme, which is run in conjunction with Shrewsbury Town Football Club. All students have the opportunity to take part in one of our enrichment activities such as drama, sports teams, High Achievers programme, art academy, to name a few. If you have any questions, please take the opportunity to speak to the teachers during this event. Staff will be available to discuss transport and finance queries as well. I would just like to end by saying thank you for attending this event, and if you have not done so already, you can make an application to the college. This is done via our website, and once you've completed an application form, we will give you a telephone call to discuss your career options and your course options. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
If you're thinking of studying law A-level, it's a fascinating subject. We begin the studies with the English legal system, which covers a range of different areas of the law. Mainly, we look at the historical context, where law comes from, its history, and how law is made today. We also look at the makeup of the courts, the different courts that exist in the UK, touching upon the European Union, and how the courts come about the decisions that they reach. We also look at the different professions such as judges, barristers, the prosecution and the defence solicitors and so on that work in these courts. We also look at different cases, case law, and how the courts have reached the decisions that they have reached in relation to different types of cases, both civil and criminal. We go on to divide the law and look at different areas of subjects in more detail. So for example, we will look at offences against the person, made up of non-fatal offences and fatal offences. So we look at assaults, murder, manslaughter, and the elements that the prosecution need to prove in order to achieve a successful prosecution. We also look at civil areas of law such as contract, negligence, occupiers' liability, which relates to the rules that we have to abide by as citizens between each other. So hopefully I'll see you all soon.
Hello, my name's Ad McLaughlin and I teach A-level psychology at Ludlow College. A-level psychology is the scientific study of the human mind. So in psychology, we're trying to understand human behaviour. Why do people behave in the way they do? And we do it in a scientific way. It's purely examination based, so there's no coursework, and the lessons will involve teaching the course content and doing exam technique and also practical work, because in psychology, as well as all the units on things like memory, like how memory works, how memory's formed in our minds, what happens when memory goes wrong, how can we implant false memories into people's minds, As well as all of that, we also do something called research methods, which is how to investigate. And the best way to do that really is to do practical experiments. So the other thing that might happen in the class is that you might be asked to read something or watch a teaching video first. So when you come to the lesson, we can do more practical work or games or exam technique rather than just ploughing through the content in class. But there will be a combination of the both. Other units we study are things like aggression, which is an interesting one, looking at, it's that big nature-nurture debate. Are we born a certain way, or do we become a certain way because of maybe childhood influences or the people around us? And so you might look at like murderers and determine, were they always going to be that abhorrent person who kills somebody, or has something influenced them to do it? Does the prison itself, like when you look at prisoners, does the prison itself actually influence people to become more aggressive? So there's lots of really interesting topics that we study, and yes, and it's examination based. If you have further questions, it'd be great if you got in touch via the college, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Hello, I'm David, and I'm the sociology teacher at Herefordshire, Ludlow and North Shropshire College. And in this brief video, I'm going to explain what sociology is and why I think you should study this particular discipline. It's a very different subject to all of the other ologies, like psychology and biology, because sociology is the scientific study of our society. And my claim is that you are living in society from the moment you're born to the moment that you pass away. And society is immense in the power it has over us. When you think about who you are as a person, and you think about the friends you have, the music you listen to, how you see yourself and how you relate to others, arguably they're all a product of this big system that we call society. So we spend 2 years looking at how this system shapes us and to what extent it shapes us. Now, we can't study all of society because that would be too immense. So we look at key aspects, and they form the foundations of what we look at over the 2 years. In the first year, we look at the family and we look at education. And in both of those, we look at what they are and what role they're having in our lives. Now, understandably, when we look at society and we look at these aspects, not everyone's going to have the same view. So we recognise that people will have very different opinions of these parts of society and how they function. Some people would have a very positive view and see these parts of society as working really well. Other people have a much more critical view and believe that these parts of society are functioning in such a way that they create divisions and inequalities. So we look at different sides of the argument. We do the same in the second year, where we look at crime and we look at religion too. In terms of crime and deviance, we look at why society is creating crime and what impact that's having on our society. And when we turn our attention to religion, the final subtopic, we look at why it's there, what role it has, and whether it's becoming somewhat redundant in its role these days. So it's quite fascinating there. I think what's really important to say is that sociology is essentially the study of contemporary life. You'll have a much better understanding of who you are as a person by doing this subject, and you'll also have a much better understanding of the world in which we're living in and why people behave in the ways they are. As I'm talking to you, we're living through this COVID-19 pandemic, and I think as a sociologist you can see how immense society is in the way in which it shapes us and directs us into certain behaviours. And I think in an age like now, we're really recognising how powerful society is in structuring our lives. So there is a bit of an overview of what the subject's about, and I think it's really important to say that in the lessons that we do in sociology, we're not just learning things and writing things down, we're discussing and we're being very critical in everything that we study. So it opens up to a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, and a lot of group work. It's a very interactive kind of subject, and I think it's really good in that respect. We do a lot of assessment, and that is not just in terms of directed study work, but also in preparing for the exams. And I give you lots of support with skills so that we're up to speed with essay writing and we're up to speed with continuous prose in that respect. We get very good results at the end of 2 years. Last year, for example, we got 50% A to B, and the year before we got 60% A to B. And since I've been teaching here, we've had a 100% pass rate at the end of 2 years. So no pressure there when you come into this subject, but it's a subject where not only you'll enjoy it, but you'll get a very good opportunity to get an excellent grade as well. Thank you ever so much for listening and watching, and I hope very much to see you come on board for this subject in the future and to learn more about the world in which we're living in. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Edwards. I teach the brilliant subject of Comp Sci or Computer Science at the excellent Ludlow College. We do OCR A-level, which is a good syllabus, full of interesting stuff, really challenging, unlike the bad old days of IT with a bit of Comp Sci. This is proper computer science. We've got all the facilities you'd want and expect, really, suite of nice PCs. Plan is to upgrade those this summer, so there should be some really nice PCs. We've got Raspberry Pis, which are little computers that don't cost lots, but you attach them to motors and probes, and you can make good stuff with them. They're a lot of fun. We've also got a bunch of mediocre PCs that we play around making networks with switches and stuff like that, just as another learning experience. We've also got access to the Azure platform. You can host full stack web applications, so you can do some pretty sophisticated stuff on those, and you can borrow processing capability from Azure, so you can temporarily have a supercomputer at your hands, so that's great for machine learning and like really difficult tasks that you would take forever on even good home PCs. So that's a lot of fun. Obviously we've got smart boards and all the rest of it that you'd expect. We have guest speakers, so in the first term I've got a couple of ex-students of mine are going to come in. First is a hardware expert who works locally, so he's going to come in and we'll do a PC building workshop, and we'll tie that in with software side of things by racing programs using different physical hardware architectures, just to see which is better and see which aspects of hardware affect what. Second person who's coming in is another ex-student. It's a particle physics professor who works at Birmingham Uni and at CERN in Geneva, France, or Geneva and France. So he uses machine learning and AI to work out what's going on with the bits of particles that they smash together when they smash the protons together. So he's going to take us through the machine learning that he uses to create his breakthrough physics. We've also got a partnership with Zengenti, or a local web developer and host and content manager, so that's brilliant, especially if you're people that are strong on design and artistic stuff, as well as people who like to do the coding for the back end. That's a really rich kind of pathway to just really good local jobs, and they come in and they share their expertise with us, which is brilliant. Yeah, it's a really successful partnership. That hopefully it'll go from strength to strength. In terms of employability, this is probably the best subject you can do. As long as you can read well and communicate well and write well and add up, then after that the next most important thing for a wealth of different jobs, in my opinion, is being properly computer literate. I don't mean being able to use Word and Excel, although they're good as well. I mean being able to make things, make tools, and use other people's tools to the absolute limit, do new and exciting stuff. So I think if you want to be doing something exciting and choose what you do in the future, then being amazing at Comp Sci is a good idea. Some of the ways you'll be employable will be you'll have knowledge and skills and also experience, so you'll build up a portfolio of work with us, so people can just go on your GitHub page where you'll share the software you've made if you want to, and that's a kind of industry standard way of showing what you can do, what you're involved with. So we look to bring on board correct industry practice as much as possible, and it's not hard, don't be freaked out by that. If you do it from day one, then it just becomes second nature really. So yeah, creating a portfolio. Obviously a big part of the A-level course is the 20% that you have for your programming project. You can make anything really. Obviously a lot of people are interested in games and stuff like that, which are great, hard and brilliant. We've had people do full stack web applications, which is database plus interactive web pages and design as well, so that's good. Or like you can use stuff like Raspberry Pis and make interactive video doorbells and all that kind of thing. Experience, like practical experience, making genuinely useful stuff. Such a good thing to have on your belt. But when you're 18, you're just immediately employable. If you want to be employable, then you will, and if you want to be a great uni student, then there's that too. If you want to do new maths, then a bit of coding is going to be helpful in the future, I promise. New physics, like we mentioned about CERN. New history, you're analysing data from the past, and if you're analysing data, then you want to know a bit about comp sci, really. It really will help. Obviously, art and design, it's happening on the web. Everything's happening on the web, so you know about that anyway. To get on the course, you don't need a GCSE in comp sci. If you do have a GCSE in comp sci, great, and I'll push you harder. If you don't have a GCSE in comp sci, then we'll support you to make the transition, and people do really, really well who haven't had a GCSE in comp sci, just need to work really and be into it, and people are, and that's why they come on the course and they nail it. Don't worry about that, you can get on without a GCSE in comp sci. But level 4 in maths we ask for, barring very particular circumstances. But yeah, thirst for knowledge and yearning for playing, doing cool stuff, hard-working attitude, and I'll welcome you on the course. It's a great course. We have a great blend of girls and boys, and I know my stuff. So it's comp sci is my #1 thing. That's what my degree is. So you can come and learn a lot from me. Hopefully, hope to see you.
Okay, so hopefully that has given a good window into the 4 different courses, and hopefully it's given some ideas of what they all involve. Now we've got some questions coming through, and we've got the tutors on hand to answer these questions. I know Dave Edwards, the computer science tutor, is already away in answering questions on text, but we'll voice your answers as well. If we start with David Gardner, if we can do law, if you're there, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so some law questions that have come through. Someone's asked, other than becoming a lawyer, what other careers could I go into after the law course?
Right, okay. There's quite a number of different areas which law will take you, ranging from politics into sort of going to the other end of the spectrum with the retail section and so on. But law is quite an overall subject which covers lots of different areas of life, if you like, in relation to progressing to journalism, retail section in relation to legal advice and so on, paralegal, secretary work, I mentioned journalism and so on.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Follow-up question, someone's asked, do you have to study law at A-level and able to do it at university? And if so, is there a lot of sort of duplicated content?
Not necessarily, but it does help. I studied law at A-level before I went to university to study law, and it really did help because you've obviously got that basis, that groundwork. So yeah, definitely it's not a requirement, but it definitely is a stepping stone as such.
Yeah, it's certainly recommended, if not required.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Just looking for if there's any more law questions. Got quite a few coming through in general. I think that's all for now, I think. So if I move on to psychology next. So if I have you next, Ad, that's okay. Okay, so
I can't unmute.
Oh, no, we can hear you.
Okay.
So first things first, is there any coursework for psychology?
No, there's no coursework. It's 100% exams. In the first year, we still do the AS exam, and there are 2 papers. And in the third year, then you do all of the same work that you did in the first year, but you have paper 3 as well. Paper 3 is building upon the last 2 years and includes topics like aggression and stress and relationships. So it's you should have a solid foundation from the first year exams, and then in year 2 you can really build on that to explore more interesting topics and having a look at the world around you a bit more as well.
Okay. Then I've got another question. Someone's asked, can I still do the psychology course without a grade 4 GCSE maths?
Pardon, without a grade 4?
In GCSE maths?
Actually, a requirement is that you have a grade 4, and we would ask our students to be confident in maths. You don't have to be a maths whiz kid, but you do need to have a good confidence, because we'll look at you have to be able to interpret and calculate things like percentages, percentage increase, ratios, standard deviation. Sorry, just a moment. Can you be quiet, please, boys, while I'm just talking? Thank you. Yes, you have to be confident with your maths. So yeah, it is a requirement.
Okay. And someone's also asked, do I need to be really good at English to do psychology?
It really helps. The exams have a range of different questions. There's multiple choice, there's short answer questions like 2 markers, 4 markers, but there's also extended essay writing questions, which are either 12 marks in AS or 16 marks in year 2. And for that, if you are confident with your English, then it really helps. The essays are quite formulaic. You don't have to be like an English literature whiz, for example, but you know, having a good command of English really helps your grades in both exams.
Yeah. Okay. Someone's asked, what other A levels should I do alongside?
Oh, good question. Sociology goes absolutely hand in hand with psychology. You can see David smiling over there. A lot of the students will incorporate like psychology, sociology and something else. But also a lot of students study biology. They might go down the science route, computer science, and maths as well. Some people study geography with it. We've had English students and drama students. And PE goes very well, actually. There's quite a lot of crossover with psychology and PE. Go and get another. Yeah.
Brilliant. We've got one question. Someone's asked about what exam board you use.
The exam board is AQA, which is the most common, I think. And yeah, they're a very good exam board. You can get a lot of resources online, as obviously as a teacher, but as a student as well. We have everything. I have everything online anyway that the students would need, but you can always, AQA has a really good website for the students' use.
Okay. Someone's asked, what sort of careers could I go into after studying psychology?
Some people have like a real heart for psychology in terms of like the therapy side of it. So you can certainly train to go on to be a therapist, and that is very much a vocation. It's something that you feel in your heart that you want to help other people through talking therapies perhaps, and helping people with phobias. Be quiet, please. To helping people with maybe phobias or depression, anxiety, OCD. So there's definitely that side of it. But there is a more kind of corporate side to it, which is you could specialize in occupational psychology. And to be quite honest, that's where the big money is, because you would go into an organization perhaps and transform the way that it works. And that's something that big businesses are very interested in. So it goes really, and not to say that being a therapist wouldn't be a good career and be a good choice for a career path in terms of your salary, but occupational psychology is certainly more lucrative. A lot of students go on to study criminology when they've done psychology and are interested in forensics. And yeah, so hopefully that's answered a few questions.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So I think that's all the psychology ones for the moment. So I'll
Thank
move on to sociology next with David Keir. We've got 101 different Davids in this this chat at the moment. So David, we've also been asked what the exam board is for sociology as well.
Yeah, it's AQA as well.
Yeah. Okay. So someone's asked, what is the difference between sociology and psychology, and which should I choose?
I suppose I should bring Adelaide back into this as well. If that's okay. Sociology looks at the really big picture. It looks at what's happening in society itself, so on a really large scale, where psychology will be.
Me to say, oh, hang on, I can't unmute myself.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, so psychology is looking at the individual within society. So if you look at in the past week, there's obviously been huge riots to do with George Floyd, and so a sociologist might look at what's happened in society to cause that, whereas the psychologist might look at that particular police officer individually, the one who caused the death, and think, how did that person become that way? Does that sound about right, David?
Yeah, that's a really good overview. And absolutely, as a sociologist, we're looking at large-scale trends and patterns. So as you look at with the what's happening in America at the moment and the protests going on, what the sociologist does is to look at, well, why is that happening? What effect will that have? What changes will it bring about as well, if any, in American society? So it's a very contemporary subject, sociology, just like psychology is.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So someone's asked, how is sociology accessed? Is it all coursework?
There is no coursework. It's all exam-based, much like many A-level subjects these days. What we do is we have 2 exams at the end of the first year, but of course, whatever grade you get, it's basically wiped clean, and you've got an opportunity at the end of 2 years to get hopefully an even better grade, and many students in sociology do that. So you've got 3 exams at the end of 2 years, to which your overall result is then developed and realised.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Someone's asked, what is the class sizes like for sociology?
We're a popular subject. Just looking at the data here, we have 36 students initially with AS Sociology, and this year we had 29 A-level students. So it's proven to be a very popular subject. Not quite sure what it is. I think it's a combination of things that are pulling people in. But of course, the class sizes are divided amongst that. We haven't got 35 in one classroom. That would be a bit off-putting. So it's set over 2 classes. We had this year 24 in one class and 12 in the other. And all being well, we might have a little bit more even numbers in both classes come September.
Yeah, okay, thank you. What else have we got? I'm sure I saw another one somewhere. So all the questions come in a funny order. So someone's asked, what jobs could I get after the sociology A-level?
There's a huge array of jobs that sociology can lead to. I recommend whoever asks that to look at the British Sociological Association. Go on, Google that, and you'll get an overview of jobs. Here's a sample of some. It's the probation service, policing, human resource, journalism, teaching, social work, nursing, including midwifery, civil service, politics, voluntary work, and social research. If I just give myself as an example, I wanted to be a social worker. That's why I did sociology, and now I'm in teaching. So it covers a very broad spectrum of jobs where there's a lot of interaction with individuals. Whatever job you go into through sociology, you have a much better idea of who the people are that you're working with, as well as who you are as an individual.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Dave Edwards. Last but not least of our Daves today. So I know you've already started answering these questions in the chat, Dave, but just for the benefit of the listeners.
Yeah, I think it's worth reiterating it orally as well. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So someone's asked, will I be able to do the IT course if I haven't done much programming?
Yeah. So a lot of people start the course with very little or no programming experience. It means it's harder when you start. Obviously, you've got to put in the hours, and it's getting the mindset right at the start is important, because there are going to be people there that have done GCSE Comp Sci, and they're going to be, you know, pretty good at coding, and I don't want them to hide that. I want them to get better, and so I'll be pushing people that have already got skills, maybe in learning a different language or something, because you know, we've got the facilities to teach various different ones, but I'll give a lot of support to the new people, and if they're willing to put in a couple of hours practice per week, then they come on leaps and bounds and catch up. So yeah, the only time that people struggle is if they can't afford to put in that practice time between September and Christmas. You know, that's the one time it can become a bit difficult, but if you've got the motivation, then you will succeed.
Okay, great, thank you. Someone's asked what programming language is, if I can get my words out, will I get to learn on the IT course or computer science course?
Yeah, so it's wide. I mean, we tend to focus our basics of programming on Python, but then some people can already do that. So what we did last year, which is the first year that was doing this new A-level course, is people that were already good at Python did it in C. One person did it in C, and one person did some stuff in Java. So thus widening their career prospects and probably giving them a head start for looking to uni, because there are people that wanted to do comp sci at uni. So we also, as well as, like, you'll spend most of your time programming in, you know, the language that you are choosing to focus on, but we also cover JavaScript and web languages, you know, like HTML and CSS. So everyone will cover those, but to wildly different levels of sophistication, because some people go on to do their programming project in JavaScript, some people go on to do their programming project in C# or Java, and you know, I can give them support in any of those languages, because you know, I have quite a bit of expertise in programming generally, and some people don't want any support at all and go and do something weird and wonderful, which is also absolutely brilliant. I read that someone's doing already does Visual Basic in the comments, and yeah, you can do your main project in Visual Basic, as long as it's whatever you choose for the project, whether it be something really cool and hardware and gadgety, or something sophisticated software based, or a full stack web application. It just needs to have enough complexity to show off your skills. So in short, there'll be a few languages, but you'll focus on one of your choice in the second year when you're doing your main project.
Okay, so someone's asked what sort of things will we do? I don't know whether you want to expand maybe on the project side of it as to what people do.
So the limitations on the project are your imagination, really. So if you're more into hardware, then you might choose to make something. So there was someone making someone was planning to make a I can't remember the name of the thing, but like a smart doorbell video that shares with your phone type thing. So they were taking advantage of their interest in actually getting stuck in with hardware. You still have to have enough programming, because it is called a programming project. So you can focus on stuff like that, or if you want to be really employable, like straight away after leaving college, then you might want to focus on doing a web application with JavaScript and databases in there, and HTML and CSS for styling it and making it look good. If you're like a really design focused person, then again, you might want to go towards the web side of things, because design's such a big part of that. So there's some making, there's some designing, there's just some programming for its own sake, if you're a bit like me and that's your major thing and you can't make things look pretty. So the thing about comp sci is it's the loads of different directions, and the programming project like gives you quite a lot of scope within the framework of still having to do some slick programming there as well. We like to do stuff with hardware, we like to have a play, but there's also a lot of content to cover. So you also have to learn, or you also get to learn about what a computer is, what it needs, what makes it work, different types, how the internet works on quite a sophisticated level, and also problem-solving techniques, which is way more exciting than it sounds, and creating good algorithms, creating efficient algorithms so that your programs would scale well. You know, if you write inefficient programs, a lot of people do when they come out of GCSE, then they won't scale well, and when you make your $1 million app, it won't be very good when it goes global. So it's important to, if you're already good at programming, we'll just make sure that you're good and efficient. But if you're a bit scared of programming at the start, then you'll just choose something a little bit more achievable. There's some projects that score really highly that aren't actually super complex. They've just got a few complex enough sections in, and the person just played it like in a smart way in order to create something that is they're happy with and works, but they just haven't tried to bite off too much. And I've had people approach it in that kind of way and get A's on the programming project. And you'll have an idea about what kind of person you are and what level of sophistication you're ready for by the end of the first year when you start thinking about your programming project. And we'll talk together about exactly what scope would be wise.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Now, I think we have covered every question there. We haven't had any of us come in. So looking at the time, I think we'll wrap things up there. Thank you everyone for your input there. So this session has been recorded, so we'll put this up on the YouTube channel shortly. So if you want to look back at anything, you can do so. Likewise, if you're watching the recording now and think, oh, they didn't ask the question that I wanted answered, get in contact with us through social media, get in contact through the website. We'll be able to direct your queries to the tutors for whatever course it is you wish to ask about, and they'll be able to answer your queries in due course. Okay, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.